I just
Well,
Took a screenshot of it.
what I might do actually moving forward, yeah, I might enable the recording on these, and then depending on if we cover something, I'll upload it. If not, we don't upload it. I might just start recording just so we have it.
You can just hit pause in between the questions, and then when you do stuff like this, just leave it to record.
That I can do, yeah. I don't know why I did path with an E there. Variable, string f name, variable, string L name. And so again, that's how you can do multiple, but in this case, again, this route will only hit if these two items actually have something in it. If I try to go to a get route with name and then a string here, but nothing else, this route won't trigger. So this is what you use for required, meaning they have to give me a first name and they need to give me a last name for this route to trigger. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
but
this
can
method,
then, I got it what you're saying, but can I get like, can I do like a get mapping for the first name and then a get mapping for the last name without like two different get mappings, but not specifying last name, first name? So it like it'll kind of run looking for the first name. If you type just the last name, it's not gonna work, and then you're gonna try the second one. That's not a good idea.
I'm not sure exactly, because like you can't do, not that button, share, forward. Why is it over there? There you go. So what you are not able to do with the path variables is something like this. You can't do get name, L name, and get F name. That you can't do, because this, for all intents and purposes, is identical. The system won't know if I go to API/name/John or API/name/Smith. The system won't know if Smith is the first or last, and won't know if John is the first or last. So these can't be done.
Yeah. So that answers it. Yeah, that answers it.
But you could make the
You could
route
do-
like F name.
Yeah, F name and then L name right there.
This will work, but that means the user has to also be able to hit that right link. So
that's exactly what I was gonna do.
Well, my recommendation would be then is just to do the get name, do the query params with the so do request param L name string, request param F name, string, and then in this function do an if L name not equal to null, L name method, run the method you want to do when L name is present.
Yep.
Else, and that means F name. You can also do else if F name, and then run the full name, the F name one, in that case, right?
Yeah.
And so they would use the same route, and then they would just in the query param. So this one would be how you would change these up would be API name question mark L name equals Smith, and that one would run. This one would run with L name being Smith and F name being null, and so then I would run the L name one. If I go to this route and do name F name John, then L name would be null, but F name wouldn't be, and so I was able to run the F name stuff. And I could also even do API/name question L name Smith and F name John. Again, the order of these don't matter. F name can go first, L name can go last, doesn't matter. This doesn't matter to the system. And then I could even do a third result here where if I have both. That makes sense?
Yes.
So I could definitely
great.
do a situation where I can handle all three with one endpoint, with one get mapping.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, this is the benefit of the query parameters. And now I'm glad it actually gave me, because I've been trying to remember what the reason why you would want to do a query thing, and this is the benefit of it, where the variables are optional. In this case, the variables are required, which I'm pointing, and I don't know if you can see that cursor. So spotlight. So
Yeah,
this
we can.
situation, these are required. These variables must be filled out. When this one, the variables are optional, where yeah, if I don't provide it, this will still trigger, because again, the get mapping is this. This is the get mapping. So even if I just do API name and I don't provide any query variables, this route will trigger. Just both L name and F name would be null. And in this situation, L name is full with F name null. This one, F name is full with L name null, and this one both are full. And so that's how you can create an endpoint, not just get, but any endpoint, where their query params are optional. Sound good?
And that's why you were saying to grab the request body, because it grabs all and it's okay if some of them are null.
Exactly. And
Correct.
that's really meant for post data. So the body is more meant for posting. You very rarely put anything in the body for a get request.
Okay.
Yeah. For most systems, if you're doing a get request, most developers are weird if you're asking them to put something in the body for your route to work. For a get request, you really should send all data through either URL params or query params. So either path variables or request variables. Only for post input should you include something in the body. Even deletes are the same. Deletes are get request styling, where if you're providing something via delete, it's usually either in the query or in the URL itself. Those are the four verbs you care about. So get and delete, put it in the URL. Not gonna use anything there. Post and put it in the body. But you can put other items. You can still use the URL as well, of course.
I'm experimenting a kind of idea of, like I mentioned with my creating the barcodes. I'm thinking just have a controller that has get mappings for everything I want to make a barcode for, and they just need to have the ID for that correlating repository, so that way they can just find it, grab it, and then they can just create the barcode based off of just, oh, what ID and what repository do you want?
Yep. Also, you can mix and match URL and query params too. So you can actually have a path param that is a variable and also include query params as well. So you're not, so if you do queries, you can't do a URL. If you do a URL, you can't do queries. That's not true. So you can actually have a get with a URL variable and also do path variables as well. So you can do both path and request params in your mappings. So if you have a data type, if you have a data that you absolutely have to have in a get, that can be part of the URL. And then anything that is optional where they want to include additional items, those can be your query params that don't need to be included. So, you can also mix and match URL and queries. Last thing I'll say again, URL parameters, the order matters. Queries, the order does not. So again, it's key based. So queries are key based. So the key is what makes it findable, what makes it attainable. When the URL, we don't have a key to identify them when they're typed into the URL. The location is what makes them match up. Good discussion there. Thanks for that one, Eridan. That's a good one. Nice deeper dive into the mappings. Any others? 7 o'clock, so last call. We take our 5-minute break and then get to our relationships again. Friendships, sorry, relationships is a different thing. Even though we called it relationships in our system, yeah, it's friendships.
I just have a just a outside story. It's not worth recording, so.
Pausing.
And then we, oops.
Yeah, I was waiting for that to stop, and I was like, and then I totally forgot again. Like, I see code. I see code. I want to get in the code.
Hi, Gabe.
We were talking about code and stuff.
Totally.
Always.
All right. So yeah, we got our friend system, and I think actually we did update it so it shows names now that I think about it. If I remember the last bit we did, which unfortunately my computer restarted, so I don't have the was it the Postman, the exact Postman we ran last time, so. We pull up Postman now so we have it ready.
Save them.
I meant to, I didn't. I think it's my.
Why don't you use the Postman desktop app?
I just didn't, it installed it, it recommended it and I did it and I was like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. It works. It works. They recommended, I'm like, sure, whatever. And I wanted to use it. And so I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And I check, which I usually don't do, but I was working on a client thing. So it's like, I need Postman now. So, and they ended up making me use cloud. Yep. So.
I export out my Postman and put it into the project in the repo. So anybody can take it down and like use that with the application. So it's pretty cool.
There you go. No, these are, oh, cool. Maybe I should make a little workspace for what we've been doing here. Can't share it with you guys, so. Okay, so a new one. We just need to log in, so. Make sure it's running. Is it running?
No.
It is not. I'm gonna have run down here on the bottom, so. Thank you, localhost, 8080. Right, yeah.
Mhm.
Another thing I've been working is running on 8888, which is fun. So trying to remember the two, just trying to remember which one's which. I'm like, right. Let's do API auth sign in. Go ahead and do our body. Raw, switch to JSON. Name. And it didn't like it. Connection refused because I have apparently a bug.
Uh-oh. Oh,
Great.
geez. Now I wonder if mine can boot.
Was it running last time?
I think it was.
Entity manager factory.
Huh, mine boots.
Service. JDBC environment. Oh, being a name. Communications link failure. Oh, is it not connecting to my database?
Ooh.
SQL not running? Not connect. Looks like it's not. Just run in the background for time and like that for a moment, but all right, weird. Double check the command to get it to start as a background service. I don't want to be running it like that, but whatever. Great. There it goes. It's running now. I knew it rebooted, but MySQL should be running as a service. I'll be checking on that later. Check on that after class. Method not allowed, right? Put or post, yeah, post. There we go. Now I can save this, and I'm going to save that. Here. Cool. So now I can use that. Now moving forward, we'll just sign in quicker. So I should be able to just pull this one from the start of class and be able to use it right away. So we got that now. So we're off. So I grab that. Copy. Tab. A relationship, right? Relationships. Friends. And put in my authorization. You can see I have my two friends, Taylor, and my one friend. Taylor's friends with me. So happy to have my one friend. What I'm also going to do though, quick, is I am going to send a quick friend request to number 7. Yeah, let's pull up developers quick. So there's a way to duplicate this. Why can't I do that though? This on the desktop version is a way to duplicate one. If they changed that, made it difficult to do that. Related collection. Yeah. All right.
If you save this route, you can right click on the left side. You can right click the route on the left side and copy it.
I don't really need to save this one, but it's fine. Use this. Copy. Paste. Grab my organization again. Which I think it already grabbed actually. Nope, didn't. Okay, weird. There it goes. Yep, it's there. Okay. So got that. And then we should really go to here and just do developers. There we go. And so let me send a request to, who's that? Who just popped in? Ah, David finally made it. Nice. We'll send a request over to Cliff 11, so ID 5. That should be a post. All right, and so if I do back to friends now, so back to get, we don't, oh, great. All right, no, this only shows approved, accepted, right? Does it? Oh yeah, it did. We actually did do that. I forgot about that. Yeah, we did. We actually did do the data type as well, because friends only show those. Okay, good, yeah. For some reason, I forgot we had done that. Yeah. So you see those, and this actually is working by getting us the name and name here. So that actually works fine now that I think about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need for this, because I can get the friends item from my relation friends. I don't know if I need to use, so it's making me wonder, do I need the relationship in the developer class? So we have these here, inverse relationships and relationships inside of developer. It's almost like, do we actually need these? Or by running what I have there, am I fine? Is there any reason to have this yet?
Well, the developer has the relationship, doesn't it? So that would be a has a relationship?
Well, kind of, again, we have the relationship, it's a complex many to many, remember? It's a complex many to many that is self-referential, that is happening through the relationship model.
Right.
The relationship model is what's creating that system for us, but I can find my friends through the relationship controller, through the relationship model. And so this is that concept where I can definitely define it, but I might not need to define it because of how JPA works and how the relationship works. Since I'm pulling it through the relationship model, I don't need it here. Now, if I didn't have the complex system, then I would require this. Because I have this entity here and I do have that relationship controller, in the relationship repository, I may not need it. The trick here though is that I am not pulling the developer though, am I? Necessarily. I have the developer here, but I am not pulling the actual developers themselves. I am pulling the relationship and just adding in some data here because of what I allowed to go through on the relationship model. So here, remember, I included name and name here. That's why I have that data there. But I'm not actually returning the developer object. And so if I do change the developer object here, I would have to remember to add those properties I want in here. So I do want that data. So now I'm thinking about on the front end, where do I want to see my friend list? Why would I want to pull my friends?
Well, you'd see it in the profile page for the
Probably, right?
for your signed in
Yeah,
developer
I
or
can see
any
that.
developer you view actually.
Yeah.
Why you'd want to? I mean, there's numerous reasons to send messages to.
And what data
bunch of
would I
stuff.
want, right? And then is there additional data what I want, or is that always going to be a slimmed down version of it?
It's always going to be a slimmed down version.
Yeah.
It's
And
always
that,
going to be selected elements.
exactly. And that's where the benefit of this system comes into play. if I do through here, I'm always going to pull the developer model. I'm always going to get all the developer data. Here, I can make sure that when I pull the friendship data, when I pull the relationship data, I only get the data that I want when referring to a friend, not to the actual profile fully. And so I can include only those items I want. If I do it through here, I am pulling a developer item. And so I'm not doing any other, I would have to include different JSON ignore properties or other includes here that are different from that one. And it could just be a pain in the butt to have to maintain it in 2 locations. So really here, it's just depending on where it makes more sense to you to see it. Where do you see it better? Do you see it better here in the relationship item where we see the friendship here, the originator and the recipient, or do we see it better here? Honestly, you're not going to get any benefits for any variation here because of how a JPA works. I can, of course, in any situation, at any moment, I can just come here to relationship and just get rid of these and have it default to the developer object rules. And so whatever rules a developer object has, and we'll include the entire developer object as defined in the entity. So if I get rid of this JSON include properties here, it's just going to use the rules here, doing the JSON ignore here, but then pull all the other data as well, following any other JSON ignores. All right, that's what that does. By putting this information, I'm creating my own requirements for what the relationship data we want sent down. One last thing I do want to do, though, is I want to touch base on kind of creating this idea of a developer data. All right, so we want to have 2 different variations for this pull. One for when I'm logged in, I'm looking at my profile, and when someone else is looking at my profile, right? So I'm trying to think of something here that we could have as being like private data that shouldn't be displayed if I'm looking. So if I go to David's profile, what on David's profile does David not want everyone to see as a guest, as a visitor to his profile? Hi, David.
Who he blocked, who he has pending. We had
Probably
talked
that,
about
but
that like
yeah.
last week.
Yeah, we're currently not showing that because right now we don't have a route to pull that data, so that's good. But yeah, if we ever did create a route for that, we should not include that. So right now, the only route we have.
I could say he doesn't want to show an email address, but I don't want people to know that.
Yeah, I could hide that. That's true. When David goes to his profile, he wants to see his email that we have on file. But when I go to his profile, I shouldn't see his email because we want to make sure I'm contacting him through the website. I shouldn't be able to just contact him directly now outside of the system unless he knows me, right? So that's a key thing. We could also even change it up where email is always private and cohorts only visible to friends, just to kind of see how that system works. So we could make sure that when we pull this data, we can then adjust the data that gets sent down to the front end. Now, how do we do that without affecting everything? Because if I add something here, it's going to affect it on every JSON item. So if I do a @JSON ignore, do that right, it's never going to include this, right? This will never get sent down. And that's not what we want. We want it on certain situations. And really just the payload. We want the payload of the data that gets sent to the front end to be modified, nothing in the back end. Why is it doing all that? There we go. Thank you. And so this is where, again, we're going to look at our payload system. And this is where your front end is going to really dictate this thing. You're going to create payloads for your front end. And really you're in your response. This area is going to get fairly decent. And you can also make folders here you can also find other ways to organize it, but I want to keep it fairly simple for the beginning. But this is where you can create additional items. What we're going to do now is going to do a Java class called developer. Or we need to find a way to describe what this is, make sure it makes sense to you guys. So this is a developer profile for someone who's not a friend. So again, I'm just going to David's request. We're not friends right now. Sorry, David. You haven't accepted it yet. I'm going to send you a request. That's why I'm visiting. I'm visiting to send you a friend request.
I'm everybody's friend.
We're just not
I'm
friends
like
on the
that guy
system
from
yet.
MySpace, Tom.
That was totally unfair. He did that without my permission.
I wonder if Alabama would consider that hacking. No.
It is.
It just comes as a default friend.
Yeah.
It's just,
Which again, we could totally code that into our system. That could be fun. Just add that. That could be a fun little side challenge for yourself. How could you update the create account system to automatically add a friend? But in this case, yeah, I'm going to David's account to add him as a friend, but he's not my friend yet. So when the system sends his data, we want to send the restricted data. So that's the key there. We need to make sure we do that. So what do we want to call that? When I'm visiting David's account, I'm not his friend yet, what am I? And what do we want to call that response? That's what we're trying to come up with now. So it's definitely want to make sure the term developer is there. So we know this is a modified developer profile object.
Acquaintance.
Are we acquaintances though? Am I acquaintances with everybody?
Lurker.
Worker?
Lurker.
Lurker.
Wait, so are you,
I like
so are
that.
you, last week you had said about us not, we could only be friends, but we can't be like great friends. So are you?
Oh, we don't have that system.
Are
So
we
this is
backtracking to allow
no.
people to become better friends?
No, we're not. This is just, again, you're visiting someone's profile for the first time. You are not friends with them yet. There's no relationship between you and this person yet. So this is the, like I said, in order to go to, you need to be able to go to someone's profile to hit the add friend button. And so this is what you're doing. This is kind of who you are when you're not friends with someone yet, but you're going to their profile.
Well, yeah, you would be an acquaintance. That's the level before friend.
Right, but again, I could also be looking to decide if I want to become a friend with this person. So think on LinkedIn. You go to someone's account on LinkedIn, you're not necessarily their acquaintance or friend. You could be checking out the company and looking who's hired there, so you can see if you see the people and get an idea of skill sets at that company.
But
and
you
who
would
else
be
is
a,
working there.
but you would be an acquaintance, because how would you know to search for them unless you're one of those people that just randomly goes along and just clicks on random people? And on
Which-
LinkedIn, technically, when you go to friend somebody, depending on the settings they have enabled, you have to know them to some degree. Like, I went to school with them, or I did something. When you try and friend them, it actually asks you.
Mhm. Let's see, so Apple,
Friend
people.
everybody at April.
There you go.
He's doing one of those hack things where he's looking to see
Start
what they
to
use.
hack.
Social engineering. Let's go.
Yep.
There we go. There we go. We'll go ahead and pull this person. And
Yep.
I
That
don't know
hair
this
is not
person.
fake at all.
I don't know this person. I've never connected with them. I've never met them. I believe they Southern California. Yep, don't know that. Would you call me an acquaintance to this person?
To a third degree.
So,
Yeah.
No, I'd call you a lurker.
I
There you
mean, she
go,
could
Zach.
have you murdered and
Lurker.
you wouldn't know about it. She's a third degree.
I would call your wife.
Now you know who else wants you to get murdered.
There you go.
I'm gonna press the geeky like button on that one.
Trying to think
No,
of someone.
Yes, most of the time, if you're looking, you're basically like a guest or anonymous, unknown.
Well,
Guest, anonymous.
since this is the developer space, yeah, it should be anonymous.
Could also use the term public. What I'm trying to pull is actually the public profile. That's a
Okay.
common term you'll see. I was hoping to get you guys to say that. What I'm doing right now on Megan Gard's account is her public record. This is the record that she has chosen to make public to everyone, to most people. LinkedIn's a little different. It probably wasn't the best example because LinkedIn, yeah, you at least need to be a third level connection in order to see someone. And I was surprised to find that, and I forgot about this person, but yeah, we actually have this one, which is fun. So I actually do know someone who actually works at Apple.
Wow.
So I forgot about that.
Wait, so does
So-
it actually block you from seeing their public page if you don't? Because I thought that was a settings thing. Like, you would actually set your profile to be public or private. If you're set to public, then really anybody could view your profile.
No,
Uh,
up to a certain amount.
Yeah.
Even if you don't make it fully
Yeah.
private, anybody below third level can't see you.
Nope.
If you make it public, then
So-
everybody can see you.
Here's the fun thing. Here's the thing. I clicked on people, 292,750 employees. Let's see how many people I have listed. I've hit my max. Oh, no, I didn't. Damn it.
Still scrolling.
Dang it. All right, cool. Okay, there's more than I thought. But no one's above. I can't see anybody above third. That's the main thing to see. When I get to the bottom, it'll show that they are someone that I can't see. How many people do I have to find in the wrong company to look at?
You need a
It's too
smaller
massive.
company.
Smaller company in
How come they're all
California.
from India? They're all from India.
I'm surprised I'm trying to figure out how I'm third level, but then again, I've been meeting a lot of people that are just friending me because of what I know now. And I actually did connect with a bunch of people at California when I visited California for a tech thing. So probably not the best group to do.
Not the
Damn it.
best.
So give me a random company. That is,
Blizzard.
Why don't you do a local company?
I was thinking Activision.
I
yeah.
know,
Oh, there
I
you
know
go.
people there. I know people here. Because I'm literally doing I'm literally people, like, employing people at all these companies in Rhode Island. So that would actually be worse.
Xbox owns them now.
8 people from your school work here. Great. That's not gonna help. People.
You're too popular. You're gonna have to pick one
Apparently.
of us. You're gonna have to pick one of us no names.
One of you guys are gonna have to look up Apple from your account.
That girl's name is T Cash. There it is. Look, you can't see, what's his face right there? That
Oh,
LinkedIn
here it is.
member
member.
right
Found it.
there.
Yes, there it is. Finally, good. Somebody who's
Nice.
more than 3 levels deep. So I can see that there's a LinkedIn member at Blizzard that is an assistant user researcher, but I am more than 3 levels deep away from them. I can't see anything of their information. And I do believe if I paid LinkedIn, I could see that. There is a paid, LinkedIn has LinkedIn Pro, and that allows you to have higher insight into a company. But as a public everyday user of LinkedIn, I can only go 3rd level deep, meaning that someone I know knows someone who knows this person. And I'm not friends with that intermediary, that person in between. So I know someone, I do not know their second person, but that second person knows this person.
Well, you stop friending everybody around these people here. I'm guaranteed you probably get that one unlocked.
I could probably, there's some places I could probably get, like, especially the second tier, I could probably get a few of them. If ever I do find someone that I know is connected to Arnell, that benefits me a lot. And that's a lot of times where most of these are coming from. A lot of my 3rd level connections is Arnell is my 2nd level. So Arnell gives me that connection. A lot of these are through Arnell, which is why I'm probably a bad example, because yeah, Arnell is massively connected. So my network is great, and I will totally give him credit for that. Anyway, so like I said, the main thing you'll see, yeah, public, or yeah, and I'll actually give you the other one. You guys were definitely right. You could also say guest would be nice, it could work as well. Guest developer would work. So guest and public are those 2 very common terms. I would say guest is if your system allows for unauthenticated people. Because this is only visible to those who are authenticated, I personally use the term public more. So public guest makes me think more of unlogged in people, non-logged in. That's the term guest means for me. That's what I hear when I hear the word guest is unlogged in, not logged in. And again, that's just developer sense, and being in the tech industry, guest is commonly referred to as a non-authenticated user on your site. That is the common term for the term guest. So in English and in the actual term, guest, it means a lot more, but in computer science, in websites and authentication senses, a guest is someone who is visiting your site that is not logged into your site. So, yes, a public account can be visible to guests as well, but that's the thing that's different for me. I like to use the term public. So does that work for you guys?
Mhm.
Cool. So this will be our public developer account. And all this is going to do is this is going to actually very much mimic what we did with our user service system. Not user service, sorry. Here it is. There it is. Our user details implementation, right? Is this one? Nope, not that one. Service, right? Nope. Oh, it's over there. Dang it. It's gonna be very similar to this, where again, we saw we did this build thing that took in the user. And so this is gonna be very, very similar. What we're gonna do in our public developer account is bring in the developer fields we want public developer to send to the front end. So I'm gonna pull to the right here and hide my project folder so I can make sure you guys on the right don't cover. This is the first video that I've started with the setting to not record the video settings with it. So people can let me know if the videos on this video show up. So if you guys don't show up on the right-hand side, let me know. So I'm pretty sure this one, it should not show you guys, hopefully, because I told it not to identify not to record the speaker's video. So hopefully you guys will be hidden this time and it won't show videos on the right. But let me know if it does, because then I'll check deeper on the settings. We want to make sure we include the ID because we need that for adding friends. So we do need the ID number. So be aware of that. We do want to pull down the ID because when I click on that add friend button, I need the ID to add this person. So I need the ID. I don't know how you guys help to figure this out. Do we want the name?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Not capital N. How about the email? Did we want email?
No.
We did not. Good. How about the cohort?
Yes.
Yes.
It could be
Actually,
a
no.
connection.
I remember, I think we said we want to do the cohort for friends only, right?
Did we?
Just so I
Wouldn't
can show
that
the
be a
difference.
connection? Wouldn't that be a connection to show you like LinkedIn has your connections? Wouldn't
Hmm.
cohort be a way for you to find people that are
Not friends yet.
Mhm.
correct? So
I
you
get
would
that,
want to
yeah.
include it in there.
Yeah, you're right. And then any other data. So let's see, we have languages. Do we want to show the languages for the person?
Yeah, that could be another way to relate them.
Yeah, totally
Popular
could.
languages.
A question on, oh wait, I have kind of a question. Can we send? Oh, maybe it's not, well, yeah.
What?
Well, I was thinking you're building out this, like, this payload, right?
Mhm.
Can you have, like, you have this one set, can you have multiple payloads in one thing? Because we can have various different ways we might want to export this out.
Well,
Or do we
100%.
we would make one for each one of them.
Kind of. What I would recommend, of course, is thinking about inheritance.
Okay,
So consider inheritance. So later on, we wanted to create the friend developer or the connected developer, whatever it is, connected developer, friend developer, however you want to word it. We would actually make that a child of this one, and then just include the one field that we wanted to include, maybe email. So include the email on the friend. And then we
Okay.
can actually see that. So with the payloads, make sure to heavily take advantage of inheritance when you're creating variations on the same one. Yeah, you should only ever create these for those items that need restricted payloads. So I'm not going to create one for languages. I'm not going to create one for other entities. You only need to worry about the one. You only need to let your front end dictate that you need these other repositories. And this is how you restrict the data in special scenarios. Other than, again, there's another way you can do it, but this requires digging deep into the JSON package that we're using and creating things like views. And I don't really, and that's I don't like it because it's very annotation heavy, and I didn't really like it. It seemed very confusing to me. I didn't enjoy it. So I feel like this is going to be a much better system because it's just going to piggyback on our understanding of objects. So this is very Java centric to me. Annotation is not really, is more Springboot heavy, which can be a little confusing going very annotation heavy. So I wanted to go object focused on ours. But feel free to look into that. What is it? Jackson JSON, the Jackson API's view system in order to adjust the systems here. So you got that. We're not using the avatar, but we probably want to include it. So
Yes.
avatar. And we don't want to include the user, so we're not going to put that here because we don't need that. Because this is the main thing to keep in mind is that this is an entity. We don't need to create these relationships and stuff like that. We don't need to worry about this one or this because we don't need to. We're not going to view their friendships on their profile right now. If we want to, we can. And this is where now we can dictate saying, you know what, we do need these fields here. If we did want to be able to pull down their relationships and their friendships when viewing their profile, if I do want to, and in the future, maybe we do. But I think what I'm going to do is actually make these the item we see once we're friends with someone. So once we've connected, so once I'm friends with David, I can see David's other friends. But I can't see David's friends until I'm friends with them. We'll just make that a part of our system. If that doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter. Again, this is more for you guys to understand and learn how to use the how to learn Java. So it doesn't have to be the perfect setup for the perfect website because I'm not making this a actual website that people are going to use. This is not something I'm actually building. So doesn't necessarily make sense. So for the public developer, we're not going to include the friendships. So there we go. So this is going to be the data we're going to send down for log on. And again, for this system, I did include the same JSON include properties developers only for the languages, so we don't get that nested system going again. All right. So same thing with the languages. I don't want to see the other developers that use this. I think we still have that. Do we actually? Hold on. Pull up the language model. I thought I maybe commented it out. Did I? I don't think I did actually. So let me just make sure. Still there. Yeah, we got rid of that. Okay, yeah, I don't need that. I made it one directional, right? Okay, so that's fine then, never mind. So this is the payload. This is the data we're gonna send to our front end when you're visiting a profile of someone you're not friends with. You're not connected, you don't have a relationship with, an approved relationship, I should say. So after that, we just do the standard constructor and getters and setters. So none. Oh, I did getters and setters first. Hold on. Constructor first.
Is this an entity? Do we need the empty constructor?
It's not an entity, so we might not need the empty constructor actually. I don't remember if JSON uses it. But let's just do the getters and setters and see what Jackson cares about. Because this is just this is for building the. So right now we're just going to do a generate getters and setters. I do believe Jackson needs that. Everything. And the constructor we're going to do actually is a build constructor, which isn't really a constructor actually, but we're just going to do, we're just going to do something like build because we want to be able to return this object. So we need to create this object. So we're going to create a factory method called a build method. So public, it's going to return public developer build. It's going to accept the developer. All this does is do there's two things we can do now. So we do need to do the new public developer, and so we could go ahead and create the constructor for this that will take in this data, and then we can give it the data from developer. So that's what we want to do the constructor. The constructor here is going to be different. We definitely want to do the blank one. We're going to do here is going to do a generate constructor. We're going to create all of them. So this is the difference between the entity and this one. We're going to actually do all. Like, okay. And here, now I'm going to do developer.getID. Developer.getName. Developer.getCohort. I'm doing semicolon. I'm doing semicolons there. Those would be parentheses. Those would be commas. Oopsie. Developer.getLanguages and developer.getAvatar. Wait, now that I look at this, this is now the object, right? By doing that, I have the developer I need to turn back, right?
Mhm.
Cool. So I can just do that. Return.
Cliff, is that build method, is that going to be a static method?
Yes, good call. Thank you. Great call there. Forgot about that. I was going to look at it like, why can't I find this method? Yes, this is static. We shouldn't have to instantiate a public developer to be able to access build. So this will allow us to do public developer.build and just give it a developer, and it will give us the public developer that we want to return to the front end. All right. Got this. Cool. Makes sense what that's doing now? So
Yes.
the other variation you could have done, by the way, is just do public developer payload public developer, then do payload dot set ID and do all those others. But you're gonna do set ID, get ID, set name, get name, and that's gonna be repetitive and annoying. So that's why it's beneficial to have that constructor that does all items. So you have the all constructor, and you send all the items from that object. It's a very simple method. This factory build method concept is not that difficult. What's good about this is that in your systems, if you have multiple objects, items, or objects that are the same that should be pulled in, you can make multiple builds with different objects. So do be aware of that, and that's a really useful item you can do. So definitely something you can do. So you got that. Developer. Good. With that, now let's go back to our developer. What am I looking at? Developer controller. I don't think I have that open. Let me clean up a little bit, actually. Clean some of these up. I don't need a lot of these open anymore. I do have the developer controller open. There it is. Oop. There's the developer controller. We have our get self, but now we want to go up here to our get mapping developers. We want to add a new get mapping get ID. So we want to do a get individual. Get an individual. So get by ID. It's a very common one to do as well. So get /e. So this is this is one of the very common ones. We did this a lot in the other models we had. Get one. The first example we did. So, yeah. What we'll do here is we'll do at response body, and this is going to the response body is going to return response body. Yeah, it's fine. Oh, I think. Response entity. This one, no. The only thing we have to worry about is what error messages do we have to worry about here? Potential error messages do we have to worry about?
Not finding anybody by that ID.
Yep. Any others? I can't think of any, right?
No, I think that's the only one.
So in this one, I guess we could just say we're going to return a public developer right now, potentially. All right. So the idea is that this ID is going to return a public developer potentially. We know later on that this could actually maybe even get the friend, maybe, right?
Mhm.
So for the moment, though, we're going to say public developer, just for the moment, because we haven't implemented another version yet. Later on, we can come back and update this. And this is that idea I want to make sure you guys understand. We already know. Okay, this is not a guest version. We don't know that the person logged in isn't friends with us yet. For the moment, we haven't implemented that system, and I don't need to worry about developing that yet. So for the moment, I'm going to say, yeah, this is going to return the public developer. It's all I have. I'm going to worry about the other item later. Make sense?
Mhm.
All right, good. Here I'm going to do get developer by ID. Oops. That variable and ID.
Do we not already have a get mapping by ID?
That's what I was thinking, but I was interested to see how he was going to it.
Thought we changed it to the self.
Yeah.
I have two. Oh, we changed that to the self. I have two separate ones.
Oh, okay. Oh, I do have one here.
Oh, wait,
Dang
yeah,
it.
it's still there. There it is.
Ah, crap. Why is it down there?
But is that one specific? But is that specific to you getting one that's a guest and getting ID by someone who's logged in?
Well, this one doesn't care for the login either. So
No, I mean like seeing someone. All right, sorry, I shouldn't have said logged in. Getting someone who is a friend.
No, this
So
is just
one
getting
would
anyone.
be one
Yeah.
of them is when you're public on the site and you're not logged
Right.
in and you just want to look.
Yeah.
And one of them is I'm logged into the site and now I can see whatever levels I can.
for the moment, though, our system doesn't allow you to look at any developer route without being logged in. So this API route is only authenticated people can use this API endpoint. So you can only access
okay.
it by being logged in. Yep. So we haven't set up a public developer profile way of things. So right now in our system, you cannot look at other developers unless you're logged in.
How do I know if I want to join your site if I don't know who's on it?
I never said this was gonna be a good site yet.
It's poor
Guys,
marketing.
Honestly, no. I know what developers you'll do. Who says you're not just going to come in as a guest and scrape my data? How dare you scrape all
mean-
my developers and then try to message them and contact them in some way?
I mean, I'm only gonna send them spam emails or phishing emails.
That's a
It's not a
problem.
big deal.
Oh, no, it's not.
So actually, we're gonna use this one actually. So hold on. Actually, hold on. Let me think for a second. Yeah, we're gonna update this one, I think, actually. So I'm gonna move. Should I move it or should I just keep where it is, where you guys have it? Should I keep
You
it
should
where it
do the
is?
one that you have at the top and just comment the one at the bottom out in
Yeah.
case you do decide to
Comment
go
it.
the route of
Good call,
doing
yeah, we'll
one
comment
that's
it.
not logged in.
Yeah, so we'll
Sure.
comment it for the moment. Up here, we got this one. So we know it's logged in, but again, we're gonna treat this in the beginning, just to make sure this works, just make sure that this guy works. We're gonna assume that no matter what I get, I'm always going for just the public profile. I'm not testing for friendship yet. I'm not testing for relationship yet, because that feature is not what I'm building yet. Right now, I'm trying to build out the public developer profile for when I view a profile that's not my own. That's all I'm doing right now. So for the moment, let's go ahead and do right now. Let's grab this account. So let's grab the developer from the repository by the ID. So equals developer repository dot get find by ID. Let's throw standard. Response status exception. HTTP status not found, right? Inside of it, yeah. HTTP status not found. Yeah, close that. So we get more screen size. Right, so we pull it. So if we pull a successful developer, we don't normally what we were doing before is we would return that right away. We don't want to do that now. We want to instead return the public developer. So we're just going to do return public developer dot build. And we give it the developer we just grabbed. All right. Let's save that and rebuild and rerun our project. I'm just going to test it on myself. That's the main reason why I did this, why I didn't test to see what it is. I'm going to run first /self, and then I'm going to pull my own ID and see if I pull my public record. So that way, if I want, I can still find my own public record. So if I click on my profile or click on view public profile, I can still see my own public profile like you can do on most sites. On LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, you can look at what your public profile is and see what others see. It is a feature in most social media systems to see what the public profile looks like. Back to Postman. Go here and instead of developers /self. There's my own account. I see everything: ID, name, email, cohort, language, avatar. See all of it. Now I'm going to go ahead and just give it number 8, which is not the self one. And we see I lose that email account. Email account goes away. I now just see ID, name, cohort, languages, and avatar. Good stuff. So you see, now I can restrict things. Let's change it a little bit. Okay, public developer on response, and I'm going to do a new class. This is going to be friend developer. This is one that I am connected with. I am friends with. And again, you can use a different term if you want. Friend developer work for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Get that one.
Hello, geek.
Fellow geek. There you go. Fellow developer. So friend developer, we're going to do, again, we want the term developer because it's connecting it to the original entity. But what we're going to do here, though, is we're going to go ahead and extend public developer.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So we go ahead and extend the public developer. So that way we can we get those fields that are already there. Except we're not. Yeah, we are. We're not.
It's looking for a super. That's why.
I know, but I'm also thinking of this thing right here. Yeah. let's go ahead and do this. So first thing, what we're gonna do though, we said the friend developer is gonna get, we're actually not gonna do email. I just remembered. We're gonna give them their list of friends. That's what the friend is. Self is gonna get email. So
Okay.
I will never see David's personal email. What I'm gonna do by becoming David's friends, I'm gonna see his friend list. Again, not the best site, because what we really would give is like some like his about me and stuff like that, and other things about him. That what I would see, but in this case, we're just kind of giving some, we're just showing that tier thing. Self, I get everything, my friends and everything. Which it actually didn't show though. I just realized. I think I hid those on this thing. Yeah, I did. I did hide that for the moment on developers. So we'll have to change that later. That's fine. Again, we'll fix that as we go. So this one, it is looking for the super, you're right. But before I do that, let's bring in the fields that we want. So private. Developers are here. We're going to go ahead and bring in our relationships and inverse relationships. I'm going to do something interesting here. Watch this. So set developer. Set, all right. Semicolon. I'm not going to bring in relationships or inverse relationships, because what I can do now is during the factory build is I can set friends to the combined relationships and inverse relationships that I pull from developer. I don't actually have to create the two records that are on the developer entity. I can do logic during that factory build method. What I am going to do though is do an @ ignore, or sorry, JSON include properties for each of developers. I'm going to include ID. And how do I do that again? Multiple. Is it comma?
You make a hold on.
That there it goes. That actually it added the brackets automatically. Even comma space. That's cool.
Oh wow.
I want to get the ID and name of those people, of the friends. I only want to see for David's friends. I want to see their ID and name, so I can click on one and look at that profile then. So I want the ID, so I can then go to that. I can go to that person's profile, and I also want to see the name, so I can see them. I could include the avatar, but I'm not worrying about that because we don't use it. List of friends. That's it. That's the only change we're making here. So now let's do the constructor. Let's see if the generation constructor will be nice here. Generate constructor, friends, and it does include everything else as well. Nice, look at that. Brought everything else in already. Cool. And it did the super for me. Look at that. Very convenient. So nice generator there for us. So I did the generate. I added the friends, this stuff friends, but we're not actually going to do this because friends actually isn't coming from developer, is it? We're not getting a thing called friends from developer. But we can though. So hold on. I'm not going to change this here though, because again, we're not actually accepting the developer here. We're accepting a set of a set that could already be built. So what I'm going to do though is do static. Developer. Build. Developer. So we're going to do right. So what we do here is I'm going to create a set developer friends equals developer dot get relationships dot add all developer dot get inverse relationships, like we did on the friends thing. Remember that? On the friends route, we did this. Why is that saying no? Boolean. What?
Is it because you have static public instead of public static?
No, because this is just this line here. This should be
Oh.
fine.
All right.
Query type set is saying that this line of code is going to return a Boolean. Oh, right, because add all adds to this. My bad, I'm being dumb. Hold on. First, we want to do
Wait, there's a team for
that.
the dumb?
What?
You said I'm team dumb. I said, oh, there's a
I
team for
did?
dumb?
Oh. I don't know what I was saying. I was just like, I thought I was trying to say I'm being dumb. So the add all was trying to add it to the get relationship. So it's trying to add it to this result, which is not what we want to do. We want to actually put this in here so that friends becomes a set, and then we can do friends dot add all developer
Oh, right.
dot get inverse relationships. Because this, yeah, the add all does return true or false of whether or not the add all was successful or not. So this does the whether or not it's successful, but it's also what's called a destructive method. This modifies the item it was ran on. So what it returns is not the result. What it returns is whether or not it was successful on modifying the item it was called on. So that's one of the things you want to be aware of, that there are concepts known as destructive and non-destructive methods. Non-destructive methods do not modify the original item, they return the result. And then you usually want to save that. Destructive methods usually do not return the result. They tend to return a true or false whether or not they were successful. But some destructive do still return the end result. So be aware of that. Dot map would be an example of a non-destructive method. And if you go back to JavaScript, that runs on the item but returns a brand new array. Non-destructive. Get that. So now we have that friends item we want for our friend developer. And instead of sending back two separate lists, we combine it for it. We could even do other magic we want. If we wanted to do some sorting or something like that, we could. I wouldn't recommend it. Again, Java sorting, not the fastest thing, so I wouldn't recommend it. And we also didn't create any sort of order overrides for our developer entities. So last thing we want to do now is simply do return, and let's actually run that build method. So and now we get to do the fun thing of doing all the getters, which again, we could, if we want to be, don't copy paste too often because you do want to get to practice, but as long as you understand what I'm doing, I want to go ahead and grab this, not this, sorry, these right here. So I can reuse that and then do friends. Look good? So far so good?
I think so. Let me just check.
I
And
was
on line
thinking-
14, the very end of that, that's a set for the constructor, the parameters. That's just a set that says friends, right? Set of developers.
Yep, for a set of developers.
Okay,
Friends.
perfect.
Yep.
I assumed so, but it was cut off, so I was trying to
No worries.
infer it as best I could.
No worries. I don't know why this keeps popping up. Do I keep clicking on it? I don't know. There we go. Cool. Last thing we're gonna do is just create our getters and setters. There we go. Which is just one. So wondering if I was actually, if I could have actually typed that faster. We got our getter and setter. Now to see if this actually works. So what we're gonna do again is we're gonna update our developer controller to just assume that we're already friends for the moment, just for testing purposes. So we're gonna update that controller method we just did, the get mapping ID. We're gonna want to return that new data type. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna change this a bit. We know that this is eventually gonna return that. So I'm just gonna comment this one out. I'm gonna do a slight change here. I'm gonna do at response entity again. I'm actually gonna bring response entity back. You get the question mark. Remember what that does again?
It's a wildcard, so it can return multiple data types inside of the response entity.
Exactly. So now I can do return friend developer dot build developer and have it be fine. Oh wait, not that. I gotta do return new response entity friend developer HTTP status. Okay. Still no? Why?
Oh, what a mess.
What did I do? I feel like I've done that before. It's not accepting the annotation there. Why? Response entity, isn't it?
It's just response entity. There's no.
Oh, it's
add.
not an annotation.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's why you're right. I don't know why. All right, there we go. Annotations. Keeping the difference between annotations and non-annotations. So it's a fun thing to remember. There we go. Now it's happy. All right. So again, I'm just going to assume we're friends just so I can test this new object to make sure I get the new data that I want. So save that. Pop over to here again. I'm going to hit the send button again. And I didn't rebuild the project. Hold on. Rerun your project.
Did you add an array in there to see friends? Or a list to be able to see the friends that you have so that when you see that you're accepted, you'll see?
What do you mean? I should have one friend. Yeah, see, Taylor.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, well, Taylor's my friend.
And you said
See
his
that
name
one?
right too, so.
I'm
That
getting better.
works.
I've been doing better now. Especially because I've been I'll admit part of the reason why I want to make sure Taylor became my friend is I had a reason to practice saying his name correctly multiple times in a row, so my brain would stick. So it finally
See, now,
stick. So
This is where we need to write in the code that we are best friends.
How was it saying it before though? Were you saying it wrong?
I was saying Tyler.
Oh. okay.
Yeah, I'll call him
Never
Tyler.
even noticed. Never
Yep.
even noticed.
In the beginning class, I was calling him Tyler. Similar to
Dang.
how so it was, yeah. Taylor and Eridan were my two difficult names for some reason. I couldn't do those right for a little while. Now I'm getting it right though. I've practiced, so I've gotten it correct. So, yep, I am friends. Why does that show Cliff 11 though? What's wrong? All right, no, those are my two friends. Right, yeah, I forgot now. Yeah, I have two friends. Taylor and Cliff 11 are my two friends. If I remember correctly, Taylor was the one, I was the originator, and Cliff 11 was the one that friended me. So those are both my friends, two of them. Just to confirm that, I'm gonna go quick. You guys don't need to do this. Just to confirm the difference though, I'm gonna go ahead and comment out this one, the add the inverse. You can see we only get one friend in my list. Run. Send button again. Dang it, still running. Second, too fast. There we go. There we go. See, Cliff. Okay, so that's the wrong one. So yeah, this is the one I was the originator. So I friended Cliff 11. Taylor sent me his request. So Taylor is the originator on our own. So there we go. Get back now. Let's see, it gets it back. My two friends, one both the inverse and the other one. So again, you can see how we can get that benefit of the system. So, and now you can see where the benefit of having that relationship system in our developer profile. So now you can see why I asked in the beginning. In the beginning, you guys couldn't see the benefit because we had the ability to pull it through the route of friends there. If these items didn't exist on the developer class, we couldn't do it with this payload. We'd have to do an additional pull in our route to pull that data and add it differently. So we could technically do it. Just our build would be build developer, comma, and we would add the friends as a separate item. So this friend developer thing would be changed. So if we didn't have these two fields here, even though we're not using them in the repository, we can use them here. And note how in here, I did do JSON ignore here. They are ignored here where we don't include them at all. So if I do self again, take a look here. So if I go back to self, note how I don't pull my friendships at all. They do not show up because I'm a developer, relationship and inverse relationships is set to ignore on both. So I don't pull my friendships when I pull self. Over here, because I did JSON include properties, ID and name, I do get that data. So this is how you can really play around with what data is available, what data is sent, what data isn't sent. We can really change it around. There isn't really a way for us to send down the relationships from the developer entity as a single entity, as just friends. So do be aware of that. That's where we have this glitch problem with JPA entities, and you might want to make a developer entity as well, or developer payload that does combine the two to make it nicer to see. That is something you can definitely do on your system if you want to. So make the formatted developer. So that would be an optional item. I'm not actually going to build this out just so you can see it. You could do something called formatted developer. So this would be the developer entity formatted, where we can then combine the relationship and inverse relationships into a single list. Make sense?
Mhm.
We could also bring in our languages here. Where is it? Languages, and make sure it JSON include name only. And then we have an array of names. So this would be your formatted developer, where it pulls down the languages, but just the name of the developers, not the ID, not the developers, just the names of the languages. So it's just an array of names. And even just have it be an array of names. You can just tell it to give us just a list of strings, not actually the languages themselves. So there's a bunch you could do with that, and that's a bunch of things you can do with payloads. So response payloads can be very, you can definitely use them to heavily customize what your front end gets, to make sure your front end gets just what it needs. What is a major benefit of this? Give me some benefits. Why do we care?
We only need one source class fully configured that we can then break down into smaller chunks to send to different locations on our front end, depending on what we want.
Yeah. Why do I care about sending less data to my front end or more formatted data? What does that what benefits does that do for us?
Better user
Bandwidth, load
experience.
times.
Bandwidth is one. What was the other person?
I said better experience on the user end, the client end.
Yeah. Bandwidth, the front end can run a little smoother because it doesn't have to do any sort of front end manipulation of the data. It only gets what it needs. So the front end also, yeah, less bandwidth on our server side sending stuff down. If our user is on their mobile phone, we're not using up as much of their mobile data to send down that data. So that's something you might not even thought about. If your site is used aggressively by mobile users, what you send down is going to hit their mobile data. And so minimizing what data you're sending to them, they're going to appreciate your site better because you're not going to be maxing out their mobile network data usage and limiting them to only use you when they're on Wi-Fi. That can be very bad if people decide I'm only going to ever use this app when I'm connected to Wi-Fi. Most people would actually then end up uninstalling your app. So just, yeah, be aware of that. So if you're ever thinking that your app is going to be a majority front end thing, definitely be aggressive with your payload items and make sure you're only sending what your front end needs for that request, for that endpoint. So be aware of that. So yeah, bandwidth, a file size, some mobile data, anything else. Alabama. There's my hint.
Just for my sanity, repeat the question.
Just another reason why we want to send down limited data. Why are we only sending down what the front end needs and nothing more? My hint.
Less data for the user to poke through to find stuff that we don't want them to see.
Right, because again, that whole thing with Alabama is that the data wasn't visible on the site, but they were able to inspect it. So it was in hidden tags. We're not doing that. But in this case, we're just doing data sniffer. So again, the network tab. Remember what we did with GoPuff? Remember that demonstration I did? I was able to see all that giant JSON data that GoPuff sends back. So even though it wasn't visible on the site, it wasn't visible in any hidden tags. The code is using that data, and so I can see what other data GoPuff is sending down my front end. So if I'm just sending down the entire developer data, even if I'm not displaying it, even if I'm not putting it in any tags, if the browser accepts it in a request, the user can view it without any hacking tools whatsoever. They can simply just use the built-in browser tools that every browser now has. And so there's another reason. Security is your other reason why you want to only give the front end what the front end needs and nothing more.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Security, yes.
I was waiting for you to say that, David, because I know you care about security.
If I'm on a website or I know if I hear a streaming radio station that I want to listen to, I've been looking in the inspector. And some of the time I can look through the HTML code and actually find the inspector, but lately I've been going to the network tab and actually finding the exact link I need to get that stream, and then I can just plug it in and I get the music going.
Yep. Like I said, yeah, the only, that's it right there, that shows it. Only send what you need, nothing more. And there's multiple reasons why you do that. Now, one reason why you might not want to do that is just to lessen the server load for your project. So you're doing a lot of manipulation on your server side. If you're trying to save money in the beginning, you could risk your application by sending more data to the front end, let the front end do the manipulation, because that means you're letting the user's computer do the heavy lifting for you.
Or
So-
they can do a DDoS attack. Because if you're sending all that information, they can just request it a million times.
Yep.
And depending on how many likes and how many friends you have, it just keeps multiplying and it'll kill your SQL server.
One thing I can recommend is like if you want to do sorting, you know what? Let the front end do the sorting. Yeah, yes, it might slow down your user experience a bit, but it's going to save you process cycles on your backend. So your backend is not going to worry about doing all those processor cycles that we talked about with the big O notation we talked about, time and space complexity. That could slow down your user's experience, but the benefit you can throw out there is you can always just say you need a better computer. Just tell your users your computer is shit. Get a better computer.
But if you use the right like if you use the right, like if you use the list or a linked list or something that would give you an automatic sorted that will automatically come back like that all the time, you're good.
Of course, but like I said, I'm just giving examples of like ways of like, again, finding that middle ground. That's why, again, there's no one answer to anything of what the best way of doing stuff is. Yes, running things server side is always going to give your users the best user experience because the site's going to load fast, it's going to move fast, it's going to go quick to an extent, or at least you can at least make sure your front end is always showing stuff. Whereas server side, you're paying for processor cycles. It is still going to take time to get the data to the front end, and you could always time out. So do be aware of that too. Sorting on the back end, if you don't use effective sorting systems, it doesn't, and you actually have to let the system chug away at sorting or doing something, you could time out. Browsers have a certain amount of time that they will wait for a server to respond with data. So you also make sure that your logic on your back end is efficient, not just because of processor cycles, because if you don't respond to the front end in time, the front end is just be like, we didn't get a response, and they don't care, they'll stop listening. So always be aware of that too. So there's that middle ground you got to find. Make sure you're balancing, not slowing down your customer's computer by running a ton of processing on their side, not doing too much on your side that you can't respond to requests fast enough, and you also overcycle your server where you then jack up your AWS prices and stuff and spin up extra servers that aren't needed because you're doing too much server-side processing and those kind of things. So there's never one correct thing. What I will say again, because you guys are becoming, I don't really want to say entry-level developers because they're trying to make sure you're better than that, a little bit above entry level, you're on like super new. You're not expected to get these things perfect during the interview. But knowing this stuff, being aware of it, being able to discuss this concept, these thought processes during the interview and during your first couple team meetings, if you start talking about efficiency, server-side processing and client-side processing, data management, bandwidth, if you at least can bring these things up, or at least understand what if your coworkers bring these things up and be like, all right, I kind of know what you're talking about. This is gonna make you a better employee at these companies. They're like, all right, they are at least aware of the things we as a company care about. All right. I'm not saying you have to implement the perfect item for your project, that you should be thinking about optimizing your server-side rendering processing and your client-side processing. No, don't focus on that. Make it work like I did right here. I started with the public.
It's all load balancing is where you have it at the end. You got to figure out where your balances are. Yeah.
Yep. Like I said, I started with the public developer only, even though not everyone's going to be a public developer, not everyone's going to be not a friend. Now we're treating everybody like a friend right now, just to make sure these two things work. Now let's update this to find out what I should send down. Should I send down the public one or the friend one? So let's talk to the logic, and that's going to be the challenge for today, and that's going to be the last thing we do today. I might have you guys write the code for your homework for Thursday. Have you attempt to write the code for it, but let's discuss the approach. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do something a little interesting. Let's do this. New class. I'm not going to actually do anything. I just want a blank screen here. Format it. You guys want me to create this because all I'm doing here is just get a blank black side so I can use my annotation on the right hand side.
Clever.
Thank you. I try. Sometimes I have a moment. My brain's like, hey, I got an idea. Plug the tablet back in. So that way, if we need to type on the left-hand side or look at some code, we can look at the code while I whiteboard on the right-hand side. So
Just a, not to go any further, just a yes or no question on this.
Yep.
If you start like multi-threading this, does that take load? Does that really push things off the balance of everything? Just a yes or no.
It increases.
Yes.
Okay.
Just, hey, you want to answer? Yes, because it's all different. If you want to go into that tangent,
It
we
changes-
can. I can tell you.
I don't want to. I just wanted to yes or no.
I'll give you the quick one.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the quick answer without explaining why or how it works. Threading will increase your load on your server side because you're running multiple things at the same time, but it makes sure that you can handle that load and respond in time for the request. So you would consider threading to be able to do heavy server side processing while still being able to respond fast enough for the front end.
Okay.
That's what multi-threading will benefit you for you. But usually when you're discussing that, you usually want to do a system where your front end sends a request and then you'll tell the front end when you're done. You'll say, hey, go to this page now to view the results. So think like report generations. A lot of times for report generations, you'll put in the request on the site. They'll say, okay, and then they'll send you like an email or a text alert or a notification on the site as you're browsing to say, hey, we're finished. Go look at your report. If you're getting into threading, you're doing some high processing stuff. Anyway, so for this, we want to make sure that we are, so we're going to go ahead and do a get ID. So we got the ID of the person we want to pull. We know that this route is only accessible by logged in people. So I want to make sure we know we have the user ID. So we have that. So what we want to do is we now want to say, okay, if we are friends, if friends, send friend developer. If not, send what is it called? Public.
Yeah, public.
Any other scenarios?
No,
Gracias.
None, huh? All right.
not if we're not logged in. I mean, we're not, rather not if we're logged in.
Oh, I can think of one.
I
This is
can think
evil.
of one, but I don't know if it makes sense to this.
Say it.
So if you are friends, you would send them their friend developer page.
Yeah.
If you're not friends with them, you would send them to the public page, but you could also send them the page that allows them to become friends.
Well, that's kind of what this says. Yeah, the public developer is the screen to allow them to become friends. Yeah, that's the purpose of this
Okay.
page. Yeah, that's the purpose. That's the purpose of this page.
Is it got to do with blocking?
I was about that was where I was about to go actually.
Oh,
yeah.
are
Yeah.
they blocked?
Yeah. What if they are? What if they're not friends, but they're blocked? We should probably send them a unauthorized or not found, right?
Right.
Yeah, but Cliff, we're assuming that they're going to do the right thing first. This is the MVP.
True, but we can at least be aware of it. We can at least remember. We can at least think like, oh yeah, I do need to add this later. This would be the to do, right? So to do, blocked, send nothing. So, and this is why I wanted to do this because some of you guys might think of that right away. And I want you guys to be able to say, okay, yeah, I thought of that, but I don't need to do it.
Mhm.
That's why I want to make sure you guys thought of it, because I know that some of you during your process, you're going to think of all the scenarios right away. Not going to happen all the time, but sometimes it's going to happen. You're going to think of all those scenarios and you're going to be tempted to, yeah, do this right away. We can always say, yeah, no, we're going to hold off on that. Let's get this working first. We're just going to assume that if they are a approved friend, we're sending in. If not, do this. So friend, approved friend, send this. Anything else, any other scenario right now, send back the public developer. Later on, we can then say, okay, well, if blocked, do this. Otherwise, if pending or not friends, send back the public developer, right?
So I guess for what you're looking at right now, if there should also be I couldn't even talk. There should also be one in there to check to see if they're pending, because if they're pending, you
necessarily.
wouldn't get either of them, would you?
No,
we
you'd
could send
get
them-
the non-friend version, the
You
public
get them.
page.
Okay.
I would think they would get that because you're still, I wouldn't say you're not allowed to view somebody as you're waiting for them to approve. You can still look at them, but you haven't been approved to look at their friend data yet because they haven't said, yep, I like this person, or yep, I know this person. So I would say you're still a public person at the moment until they approve you. Again, this is something you can do on your site. If you want to change it where, yeah, while they're pending, they can't look at them, so you can't pester them, go for it. If you want to
Well,
do
I
something
meant
different, you
like
can.
if pending, they would still get the public page.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you would need a separate item for that because it's like, if this, then do this. Otherwise, just send this. All other scenarios run to here. So that's just the catch all right now. And again, this is we'll see how the code looks. But for the moment, yeah, let's look at the steps now. So let's think about our pseudocode. So what's the first thing we need to do first?
Need to get a user from the user ID.
Correct.
All right, get logged in user, get current user.
Mhm.
Jesus, I'm gonna redo that line. Hold on. Get current user.
That looks less like cuneiform.
That works. Current user. What's next?
Then you would write your if statement,
All right, we can do the if now.
followed
All
by
right.
your case statement.
What's the, so if what?
So if current user,
Are we doing everything if the current user is null, then we go back?
Again, pseudocode.
Oh,
So,
pseudocode.
yeah.
Oh,
So get current user.
Yep.
So get current user.
Yeah.
If user doesn't exist, return. user
Pseudocode
doesn't
again.
Exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pseudocode.
Don't need that.
That's, we're not really, that's not really code. That's pseudocode right there. It's just
Kind
logic.
of, again, we can assume that. And I don't really care about whether or not I get it or not right now. That's validation. I just
Oh,
want
we
to keep
just
it
assume
the
we
steps
got
to
it.
finding it. Yeah, we can assume we got it because we know what to do if we don't. I don't
Okay.
need
Okay.
pseudocode telling me that what to do if I didn't get it. So
Okay.
get current user. I've already said here we have an ID and we have a user ID. So we're just going to assume that these are valid items. And we can also just put get current user, and I can put a note here, validate if you want.
So
Validate.
we have to figure out, we have to determine if the friend is a friend to be able to return the friend
Right.
developer.
And that's what I'm
you
more
gotta check
focused
the
on.
state.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more worried, and that's more what the pseudocode is focused on, because we've done getting the current user before. We've done this whole thing before, so I don't need pseudocode to get and confirm a current user. I don't need pseudocode for that. We have that code written somewhere else. That's what I'm trying to get at with pseudocode.
So
What I'm
if
caring
friend,
more is what we haven't ever coded before. So yeah, go ahead.
so if friend show stuff, show full page.
A friend, return
Friend developer.
Yeah, friend developer.
Come on. Oh, I'm hanging off the edge, so I'm not getting pressure.
If friend and not blocked.
This is basically
If
then
friend and not
else to
blocked.
everything else. And
I'm not gonna worry about that now. Yeah, we already said to do, so don't worry about the block yet. If
Oh,
friend-
okay, okay,
Yeah.
And then
sorry.
if that's if yeah, everything else.
Return
Return
public.
public developer if it's not that.
All right. So this is good for the start. And then we go to think about, do I know how to do these? Well, do I know how to return a friend developer?
Well, yeah.
Are
we have
you
it-
asking
have it
or?
right here.
you're-
Yeah,
Mine's-
the code,
yeah,
like,
right
do,
here.
do I have code to do these things is what I'm looking
Yes.
at. So yeah, I know how to do with this. Do I have the code to return a public developer?
I don't think we did that.
I
one
don't
yet.
think we've done that one yet.
Kind of. We have this.
Okay,
We do have to
kind of.
update it. Yeah, we do have to update it to mimic line 55 with the response entity, but we do have that.
Yeah.
So we have that line there. So we do have that. Do we know how to test for friendship?
Yes,
We do.
Yes.
We
Where?
did?
I
What
think
code?
we've done it earlier.
We did,
No.
huh? All right. Show me. Where's the code?
Hold on, that's on,
I think it's in
it's
the,
on one of the other controllers.
I think it's in the relationship controller.
All right, let's look that up. Mouse. There. Controllers. Relationship
My
controller.
IntelliJ just crashed.
So
Oh
we have
no,
the-
that's the worst. I hate it when
Probably
that
a
happens.
repository thing.
So we can
One
get
more
we get a list of relations and in relationships. We can get the list of them, but how do we confirm that given and one ID and another ID that they are friends?
So we did that last week on Tuesday, I believe. We checked to see if they were friends. When we did the well, I forget what you call this. It's on the post mapping for block, we checked their relationship. So it says if in rel is present, it's almost the same concept, it's just using a different one. So, yep, right there, you checked your relationship right there to see whether or not they were blocked or whether or not they were friend.
Yeah. The main thing here is we need to think about it this way. How do we know that someone's a friend?
Will
Let's
they be
start with that
listed in the
first.
database as friend?
Yeah, if the relationship
Or
status
they'd
is
be-
accepted.
Correct.
Right.
That's
What does
it
that
was.
look like? What does that look like if we think about the rows?
I'm
What
sorry,
is
if
a
we think about
friendship?
the what?
Think
You
about the
said the
database
rows.
rows. Yeah.
Oh, the database rows.
Yeah. And again, we can use TNN again. So Travis and Nick.
Mhm.
Oh, Nick, yeah.
So if TN exists, that would be accepted, correct?
Kind of. That would be friend, right?
Correct.
Right.
Is that the only version though of a friend? Because I can search for
Mm.
that, but
No, and if NT exists,
right. So we need to make sure that we can look for both variations. We had the AB variation of our system. So we would need to make sure that we can look through both the, if you think about how the developer system is, we would need to, that's not the developer object.
Right there.
We need to check both relationship and inverse relationships to see if this item exists, right?
Sanity check. Why wouldn't these both be approved, or why would these be changed? Why would the first one be approved but the second one wouldn't be?
Because they don't, okay, only one exists, that's what I'm trying to say. Only one of
Okay.
these exists. So in our
Okay.
database, we don't know which one is gonna be, right? We don't know if it's gonna be for
Oh.
checking for friendship, if the logged in person is the originator or if the logged in person is the recipient. We have no way of
Right,
knowing that.
Right.
So we need to confirm friendship versus either variation of this, right?
Now I remember. Now I remember that. Okay.
So one thing we can do, and I'm gonna show you, this is gonna be interesting, is do something called exists. Take a look back to our, where is it? Auth repository, where are you?
Our
repositories would
user
be in the-
repository?
Yeah, right there. Boolean
this thing?
exists by username.
Mhm. Oh, so we could do exists by would that be?
So we would do a check to see if they exist.
Mhm. We do either one, and then we can pull the one that exists technically.
Right,
or
because we
can-
only need one, because one would be
Mhm.
the same as the other.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait,
So let's
explain
think
that.
about-
So
Yeah, let's think about let's think exactly what the logic we need. So we will do exists originator exists by originator ID and recipient ID and type. Right?
wow, that's a lot to write out.
So if the originator ID and recipient and a type, so we can say, and we can run this twice though. So we can run this twice, right? Once we do EOART, there we go. We'll just do that. So exists originator and recipient and type. We send it the user ID of the user, and then if I do this right.
And they told me in class I could never use run-on sentences. Look
Yeah,
at
I
that
know.
now.
Code is not actual English. Remember that. It's Englishy, but not English.
Hey, don't ruin our
exists by-
moment. Don't ruin our moment. We just got a victory against the teachers here.
Exactly. Exists originator and recipient and type. The user, the ID that we're trying to get, approved, right? So we can check for that one first. This would give us a TN approved, potentially, if that one exists. We can also do an EOARAT ID user approved. What does that give us? A true or false
Reverse.
on and T approved. And so this way we can check for both variations with getting a Boolean back. So we don't even do a full database pull. We don't pull the whole thing. We just say, we just ask the database, hey, does this exist? No. Okay. Does this exist? Yes. Good. And what's beneficial again about how Java works is if the first one pulls, it won't even run the second one in a if statement that has an ampersand system. So if we do the if friend or inverse friend exists, if the first one comes back true in an or condition, Java won't even run the second one. Because remember, in or, as long as one is true, we're good. So Java runs efficiently. It only runs the
and statement then, right?
I don't know. We only want one of these to be true.
Oh, you
only one exists. Because only one exists. Remember that. So if we're a friend or an inverse friend, we're friends. So as long as one of those two exist. Remember, only one of these two exists. Not both of these don't exist. Only one exists on this system. Because we did the TA, we did the AB variation, we didn't do the ABBA system, remember?
Correct.
So yes, if you did the ABBA, then you might want to do the ampersand, or honestly, in this system, you would only need to check the one. So in an ABBA, you would only need to check the one because you know that both exist, and I only need one of them. So a little confusing, but yeah. So in this case, yes, we can say if this one exists or this one exists, we're friends. And what I was saying about Java, Java always runs efficiently in an or statement. If the first condition is true, it will never check the second. It doesn't need to, because if this is true, then I can, the if statement is already true. The if statement's happy, I don't care anymore. No matter how complex the second half is, if the first part of an or statement is true, it doesn't care. Java will not run it.
Can I ask a question then?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then why do you need the second part? If the first part isn't true, then it doesn't matter, right?
No, it does. So again, in the sense that, let's say, so in the situation where, yeah, so in me and Tyler's friendship, damn it, me and Taylor's friendship. I heard it though.
They've been reverted.
in me and Taylor's relationship, Taylor was the originator, I'm the recipient. And so we have a TC approved in the database. So now if I'm pulling, let's say, actually, no, sorry, let's say, yes, let's say I am pulling our relationship. I'm pulling Taylor's account. So I'm now the user ID and Taylor is the ID. So this, so it's going to say exists by originator and recipient ID. So originator here is going to be me, C. So I'm the user. Fix that. So CT approved. Does this exist in my database? Does the CT approved relationship exist?
Yep.
It does. I'm not the originator.
Oh, right.
Right.
That's the part I'm trying to. That's the part I'm trying to like wrap my mind around, because
it's tricky.
So I guess really, if you're already friends, then it doesn't matter who you're pulling it from, because it should say accepted regardless of which side you pull it from. That's why I'm saying it doesn't, like, to me, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Why you need a second statement? Because if I'm looking at your account or I'm looking at my account, they're both going to say accepted. So you don't need an or statement, because if I pull mine and it says no, then immediately I know on your end we're not friends.
Yep. Which, like I said, hold on, Jim. Because I want to make sure I explain it right with the right system here. So again, the thing that's hard to follow is that we only have one record of an approved relationship. And the thing is, in our database, it has it originator, recipient. And because we're doing the AB type system, where we only have one record for me and Taylor's relationship, regardless of who the originator was, I have to check for both instances of it. I don't know in any relationship who the originator is. I have to approach the system not knowing who sent that relationship out.
Okay, I think I get it now. So if you're the person that asked to be friends first, then the record lists you as the originator, regardless of the case, it lists you as the originator of your friendship.
Exactly.
Or relationship.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the part I was missing.
Yeah.
That's what I was-
Because I think what you have in your mind is you probably would benefit from the ABBA system, which means for every relationship, there's two versions of it. The database has both instances where there's the TC and the CT exists in the system. So that means, yes, in that situation, you wouldn't need the other because you would be able to find either variation, regardless who the originator was. You don't actually care whenever whenever a request comes in, Taylor sends in the request. In your database, you're going to create both the TC and the CT in your system. So you're going to have both instances of it. So then you just have to find one of these because both exist. As long as you find one, you're fine. If one doesn't exist, the other doesn't exist. And so that's what you're kind of seeing.
So then I would benefit from using an or, because if I don't find the originator if I don't find me being the originator, I will find Taylor being the originator. Because
in our system,
we're,
yes. Yes, in our system,
Okay.
yes. Yes. And what we're doing now, we need this because there is that we don't know when this comes in, who the originator was. We know, as humans, we know, but our system won't know. On our database, once we get more people in there, I don't know who this is. We're going to say, for the fun of it, let's say Sergio and Travis are friends, but I don't know who started the friendship, right? I
Was
don't
it the
know.
chicken or the egg?
Right, we
hold
don't,
on.
and there's no way for us to know it. And there's
So
no way
my-
for us to know this.
Yeah, yes, what Cliff's saying, that's true, but to really, I was going to point out, to really see everything is just that, look at this table in the database and you'll see original ID and you'll see the recipient ID,
Yeah.
and then you can see how these
Well,
are placed in.
A better example. Would it be safe to
to
say
see
that Steve Wozniak and not Steve Wozniak, God damn it. What's his name? Wozniak. Crap. No, I screwed it. Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs,
And
Steve Jobs,
Steve Jobs and
Dave.
Dave Wozniak.
Dave Wozniak, yeah.
Yeah. It would be safe to say that those two are friends, right?
No. They're
God damn
partners
it.
because they split.
God damn it.
No, they were friends. They were friends.
All right.
Thank you. Do we know,
Colin
does
said
anyone of
your
us
nerd
know?
card is revoked.
Does anyone know who initiated the friendship other than those two?
No,
No, we
No.
don't know, right?
Steve initiated the friendship.
It's probably safe to say that because Steve with the outgoing type is probably a safe statement.
Yeah, he's the one that discovered him making the computer out of wood. So
that's what the movie says. But yeah, and again, do we know that that's the time they decided to be friends?
right.
Who decided and when did they decide that they're actually friends now? We don't actually know who originated that concept. Who was the first person to say, "This is my friend Steve," or "This is my friend David." We don't know who said that first, right? Who had decided to say they're friends now. Unless we were physically there to see it, we don't know. And that's how our database and that's how our system, how our route needs to behave. Our route needs to behave because our route wasn't there when the friendship originated to be able to know how it should pull the information from the database. It is blind to this. All computer code has to exist in its own bubble. It doesn't have historical data. And so that's why we need to search for both instances, because we don't know we don't know the specifics of their relationship. Our route doesn't know the specifics of me and Taylor's relationship. Sounds weird to say right now. It doesn't know which one of us decided to extend the olive branch first. And so it has to check for both instances because our database only keeps track of the one.
I know, but that's just because of the fact that you called him Tyler first.
Yeah.
well, I'm just saying that the table itself in SQL shows you the original, the one who made it by ID and the other one by.
But what I will say, Jim, is what I'm trying to make sure we understand this in a non-coding sense. We understand the logic behind why we run what we run. So I'm trying to keep this as codeless as possible. But this is our system. So if friend or inverted friend, go for it. So that means we need this EOARAT method in our repository. So let's go ahead and add that to our our relationship repository. So let's do that next. Let's clean this up. Go to our, let me close out my annotation. Let's head over to our, we have that open right now. We do not have the relationship repository open. So let's go ahead and open that. Let's add that in. So I'm going to do Boolean exists by originator ID and recipient.
You're doing this in the repository, right?
Yes, I'm sharing, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Just wasn't sure.
No worries. Yeah, relationship repository right there. Recipient
Oh,
ID.
Does it
and-
matter if the I's in ID are capital or not?
I believe they should not because they're after an underscore. The common practice is not, and to mimic the
Oh.
field.
Because all of mine
So-
are, and I don't know if I've tested this.
I've not
so-
tested it, so I don't know. This is just the way I know it's run. So I usually do. I try to match the field name is what I'm doing. So I'm matching the field name. So do that, and then we can do
Change this.
long ID
This is line 17.
or ID
Oh, wait, actually, no, sorry.
and e relationship type. So this is pretty much identical to our find by originator ID. Find by, where is it? Originator ID or recipient ID. No, not that one. What was this one again? Oh, this one, right? Yeah, but without the type. This one didn't have the type. So very similar. We're just adding the type now to make sure that we only find the ones we want to find based on type.
Can you find it by either or and by type?
I'm sure there is, but whether or not that's available in this syntax without using SQL, no. You can definitely create a SQL query that'll do it, where you can take in a single, you can take in the two IDs and check for both options and just do a single search, definitely. Like an or and do some more complex logical conditionals. We just say, we could actually have a, what is it? Boolean is friend, and then you can have the SQL query above it that actually checks for both instances in one shot. So 100% there is a better, if you know SQL. So Freddie probably will create a Boolean is friends item in his relationship repository where he has the SQL query that will check for both the two variations of it using both the two IDs here and type. So Freddie, if you do end up coming up with it, feel free to post that if you want. If you do decide to do
Yeah,
it.
I'm making up the query right now.
I knew it. I knew it. I was like, he's so doing this right now. So yeah, you can definitely have the SQL system check for both types of it via a SQL script. But again, my focus here is not to do too much SQL on you guys. We'll do some more SQL later on because I do think, especially for those of you who are doing citizens, by the way, you will be looking. I'm hopefully gonna be able to find some sort of SQL video for you guys to check out. If you can pass the first couple stuff, because you will need to know some basic SQL for the HackerRank test. So there are some SQL tests questions in that one. So you'll want to do a
15,
basic understanding.
line 15, you have an error.
I do. Why?
And the first one should be a capital long, not lowercase long.
Oh, sure. Jong. Long.
Cliff, do you know for the citizens if it's just querying for the SQL knowledge?
Mostly just querying, yeah. It's
Okay.
some basic, yeah, just basic SQL understanding. So, yeah, selects, create, insert, and some basic joins would be nice. So the basic four things you need to know with SQL is just some basic joins, insert, select, and create, and just creating tables. So nothing too fancy though. We're not looking
Okay,
for
'cause
super.
I know on
fancy stuff.
HackerRank, it's just predominantly querying.
Yeah. Like I said, in worst case scenario, when I give you some of the tests that you guys will have, you'll get some ideas of what you might want to look into. So I'm going to give you some challenging SQL stuff that you can then look into later. So, but those will come later. Yeah. Sorry. Exists by originator ID, recipient ID, and type. So all three of these need to exist. So in our, let's go back to our route now and let's build out our route. So I'm going to move this over here so we have it for reference. There, here, thank you. Back to our developer controller. And so now our get mapping by ID, we want to do, if you remember our steps, get user, check ship, and developer. Okay. First thing, let's get the user. We're probably gonna go grab that from one of our other routes. So let's go to one of our other routes. Right here, we'll grab this code right here. Bring that in, make our life easier. And then, yeah, And there's our developer right there, right? Hold on. No. That gets the user, but then we need to get the actual developer. Oh, do we? Yeah. Yeah, we do need the developer because we need the developer ID. So then we do developer. Equals this, just so we use it, and do find by user ID. Whoops, hold on. User ID, that one. Yep. So that gets our current user and the current user developer. So we get the developer account for them. So we get their developer ID. So we are also right here getting the developer that we want to pull. So we have both. So let's move this below. Grab that, put that down. Got the two developers. Now let's see which version of this we want to send down. So let's check the friendship. So, and since these are Booleans, we can just combine these in an if statement right away. So if repository, not this repository, right? Do we have a relationship repository?
I think you gotta add that in.
Yeah, I don't think we have that in yet, do we? No, we have repository, avatar, and geek out repository. So at AutoWired, relationship repository, done. Now let's see this. So if relationship repository dot exists by originator and ID, recipient ID, and type. There. Let's do current developer dot get ID. This is where things are going to get a little long. So let's go ahead and do this quick. I'm going to bring this here. Nope, that didn't.
Yeah,
really
this
fix it.
query is looking ugly.
Good to know. If current developer dot get ID. This can be bad actually, yeah. So line here, that goes in. There we go. That's the, ooh, Jesus Christ. Here, this goes there. There we go. Yes. So, comma. Developer dot get ID. That should not be indented that many times. Really? What are you doing? Do this one more. Hold on. And then
That does that to me all the time.
we'll just do that. That's fine.
Yeah,
So-
just
If this or relationship repository dot exist by originator and ID and type. Love some consistency here, please. There we go. Developer dot get ID. Current developer dot get ID. E-relationship accepted. I forget, I have even the word approved. Damn it. Oh well. Go. And then that's the end of the if statement. Bracket there. This is your if statement. So there's your first one and your second one. So how are we doing? You see what it's doing now? So again, so this is checking for standard friendship, and this is checking for the inverse.
Oh,
Any questions on that? We're good. We're
do
confident.
we have to? I'm a little bit confused as to why we have to check for both.
Oh, damn it.
Sorry.
So no worries. This is so again, this is that concept that we don't know who the originator was. So if I'm trying to pull Taylor's profile. We're already friends.
Oh,
but the
that's
system
right,
might.
because it's not just one or the other. It's we're checking by who sent it. Right. It's
Right.
specified. Okay.
So the first
Gotcha.
time this checks for a CT accepted. We know that Taylor is the one who sent the request. So this isn't going to pull. I'm not the originator. Taylor's the originator. So this first one's going to fail in our search. This is the one it's going to find, because this is going to search for the TC accepted. And that's one that actually exists. And so this second one is going to return true, showing that we are actually friends. And the relationship between me and Cliff 20, so it's between Cliff 20 and Cliff 11, we have C20, C11 as the item in the record. So this first search says C20, C11 accepted. This one will find it, and then it will stop. It won't even run the second one.
Got it. I forgot that it was specified.
I guess I have to, if I had to break it down a little, we have to use as the originator or the recipient. We have to find which one on the table that they exist. And then if they, and if it does exist and it's approved, continue on.
Yep. And so here means we are friends. So if we get to this line 73, inside this if statement, we found at least one record that is accepted between the two of them.
Mhm.
We found either CT or TC. We don't know which one. We just found one of them. And so we know that they are friends, and we can send back which one now.
The friend.
This one,
what is
right?
it called? The friend developer. Yes.
Yep. So this one right here. So we'll go ahead and do that same thing. Let's type it out to make sure we get that practice. Return new response entity, friend developer dot build developer status dot okay. Otherwise, if not, again, we're not going to worry about blocking yet, so we can always have this here. To do if blocked and the 404. So they don't see it. They don't see that profile. They don't even know that person exists on our website anymore. They can't see them anymore. But for now, we're just going to do return new response entity. Which one we're going to send here? Not sure why I did that. Which one are we sending here? I remember.
For the blocked, you would
No,
just
no,
send
no, no.
the.
Not
Oh.
blocked. Yeah. If
Well,
this
it's
is to do,
underneath it, so I thought that
true.
was
But
the.
that's just a reminder to do that. So
Oh, okay.
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
This
no
would be the
harm.
public developer.
Public.
There it is. Why is it upset? Method call expected.
You have to do public
Oh.
developer dot build.
Yep, thank you. There it is. Cool.
Yeah, there we go.
That's nice. There we go. And then we can get rid of this because this will never run. So then get rid of this stuff down here. I'm also going to get rid of my other comments that I no longer need. Well, over here, well, okay, so yeah, I don't need that one. I can keep this one for you guys to have it, so you know what this is doing.
So, so does it make a difference if we did if not on that and then just automatically send the public build immediately then versus the friend one? It wouldn't make, the logic doesn't make, I mean.
Again, I tend to do with if returns, I just do the second half right here. So I like to do if returns because I don't need the else. The trick here, and again, the thing that's going to be a problem with this later on is trying to write this in an efficient way to check for both accepted or blocked, but ignoring pending and no friendship. So that's the thing here. This one is sending for both pending and no friendship. If we want to get for blocked, we have to do this. So right now, the only way to do that would be to do it if and else if here and do the exact same ones here for blocked. The exact same logic here. So that's the one downside we do have. We have to run the exact same two method calls for checking for blocked. That's why I didn't want to do it right now. So it's one of those things we have to wonder now, is there a better system where maybe we can pull, we first try to pull this one, we actually return it. Instead of doing it exists, we actually do a find by. We get it. If we get it, we're good. If not, we check again. So we only store one relationship. So we only have one relationship. We pull it. If we get null, we pull the inverse. If we don't get null, we don't pull the inverse, right? So we only pull the inverse if the first doesn't get it. And then we can do the switch statement that we've done before. So maybe that would be more efficient. That's something you get to decide if you want to do. Again, I don't need to cover it. I think you guys have enough to be able to play with this and figure out your ways how to handle all scenarios. And again, this one right here was just, again, to point that out, that while you're doing your thought process, some of you might think of that other scenario like, oh, if blocked, maybe I don't want to show that profile anymore. I don't want them even looking at them. I want to hide that thing completely, because especially if I'm the person that did block them, I don't want anybody sending me like a bit.ly link to go look at them, or someone trying to get me to go to see them. They should be hidden. And this is, again, one of those, this is kind of leaning back to that concept of what Apple wants, that person shouldn't even be seen by that person once they're blocked. That content should be not visible. They didn't clarify that someone could go, if a person who blocks someone goes to that page, that we should show it or not show it, that we should restrict it if they explicitly go there. I don't think Apple has that restriction, so that's why I'm not too worried about putting this here. Apple's just saying that if this person's blocked on the full page where they're showing a bunch of things, that item shouldn't be seen. But I don't think they have a restriction saying that if they explicitly try to go to that blocked data, that you should hide that blocked data. I believe that if the user wants to go to the blocked data, they can go to it. This is that concept, though, that if they block someone else, should they be able to? So this is that concept, though, that let's say I blocked, who am I going to be mean to? If I blocked Freddie for all of his SQL usage, should Freddie be able to see me? Should he be able to go to my profile by typing in if he somehow figured out my ID, should he be able to type that in directly be able to see me, even though I blocked him? And that's where this might be something you want to implement. So that's that concept there. That was a fun system, but again, think of this concept where you have a toxic situation where someone is harassing someone else. Do we want to block them? Right? And that's that concept there. That makes sense?
Mhm.
All right, cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this. I think with this, we can now actually go to our front end and actually display a profile, send a friend request. We'll probably accept it via Postman instead of trying to build all that front end, because we try to finish it up on Friday so that next week we can start talking about OpenShift. Hopefully, I want to start talking about that, getting this stuff hosted on OpenShift, so we can start doing that.
You mean Thursday?
Next week we're going to do OpenShift. So this stuff we're going to finish on Thursday. That's what I'm hoping to do. If we don't, we don't. We'll do a little more on Monday. That's fine. I'm not too worried about it, but I'm hoping to try to finish up, do the front end stuff on Thursday. But again, front end can be a little tricky, so we'll see. We might have to do an extra day. We'll go with it. Again, one of the downsides of losing a day this week. It might push things forward today. I hate whenever I forget about a holiday. Don't plan around it. Yeah, it goes bad. So we'll play around that. Yeah, so that's going to go. So what we're going to try to do is be able to pull down a single profile and actually show it. So we have that list already. The goal is that we can click on one of those, show the profile, only show the data we want to pull, and then send that and have that add friend button. Click that add friend button. We'll go ahead and do the approval on Postman because I don't want to create another page where I can approve it. Maybe we'll actually do it if we look at that profile, we'll actually see the approve button where the add friend button is. Maybe we can do that. We might do that. And then showcase the updated profile as well. All right, so that we can also see how to show data that's there and also hide certain components if that data isn't existing. So we want to be able to use that same profile component on our front end to show both the public developer as well as the friend developer, and make sure we show based on what we have. And so we make sure we have that dynamic component that will or will not show the friend list, depending on whether or not it was pulled. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So we'll have a nice dynamic component to showcase that stuff. And that'll be what we do on Thursday, maybe Monday, depending on how we get into it. On the side note, I ended up writing the code that I was tempted to make you guys do for Thursday. So work on your projects. I would say though, if you're adding some sort of like friendship model or something to your expressing that, but I don't know what could be doing that for. I can't think of any similar item for that. Go ahead, but really for your personal projects is where you can build a complex system like this into it. I know several of you are building social media type things or things that are going to have peer-to-peer items where a friendship or a connection of friendship type, maybe not friendships, but maybe connections, things like that could be beneficial. Feel free to add this to it. Again, this is friendship models are a complex item that are fairly common. So I want to make sure we at least expose you guys to it. You don't have to add it to your system, but it can definitely be a impactful item to any application. So having something complex like this in an application can be pretty powerful to show. So, and I know that some of you are, I'm hearing that some of you are trying to get more complex relationships. This is something very similar that you could definitely have in your app, Travis, with the dog system, having friends and stuff where other people are dog owners too, and they can maybe try to schedule activities together. You're like, hey, you know what, we'll go do an activity together. Stuff like that. So you can send out requests like that, or even say, you know what, hey, this other dog owner is going to take my dog for a walk, so I want to be able to, they can add an entry for this dog. So there's a lot of things that your app could do in the long run that could benefit from these extra relationships. So again,
Are you going to be on tomorrow during the day?
Yes, I'll be on Slack because I'm going to be meeting up with at least Jeremy and some of the other maybe people. So feel free to ping if you have any questions. I'm mostly around. I'll try to ping most of the time. You did send me code through Slack. Next time, just send me a link through like Google or through GitHub because it's hard to read code on Slack. Okay. Especially when I look at it on my phone. So I keep forgetting to look at the code you sent me for that homework. So I tried to read it when you first sent me the message. I looked at it on my phone and it was not legible. So that's why I couldn't respond to the code you sent me, because I tried to read it on my phone and I could not comprehend it on my phone. Unfortunately. Any questions or anything?
Can you push this, please? And
yes,
I'll wait for the video.
I'll try to get that up definitely tonight. So did status. Okay. Work. That explains what we did. And there it is. It's pushed. I'll try to get this video up as soon as we can. Go ahead and stop the recording. Stop sharing.